Hi, fourth graders. This is a mini lesson on your math lesson for this week, 12-4. Again, that's 12-4. So if you have your 12-4 paper from your packet, go ahead and have that out. But before we get started, right on that packet, we are going to do a little remembering on what we know about equivalent fractions. And to do that, I'm going to do a few equivalent fraction problems with you. Now remember, there are a few different ways we can create equivalent fractions. We can use multiplication to create equivalent fractions. So that's what we're going to do here in this first problem. 3/4 equals what number over 12? Now remember, as long as we multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the same number, we will have an equivalent fraction. So in my head, I have to think, what number am I going to multiply 4 by to get to 12? Very good. 4 times 3 equals 12. So then I'm going to have to multiply the numerator by the same number, times 3. 3 times 3 gives me, very good, 9. So 3/4 equals 9/12. Let's do one more, just like that. All right, so here I have the fraction 1/5. 1/5 equals 6 over what number? All right, I'm going to use the same math thinking. How did I go from 1 to 6? What did I multiply it by? Very good, by 6. 1 times 6 equals 6. Now, what number am I going to multiply my denominator by? Very good, by 6. We have to multiply both the top number and the bottom number by the same amount. 5 times 6 is, very good, 30. All right, now let's try one where we do all of the multiplying. So we're going to create an equal fraction, an equivalent fraction of 2/3 by multiplying both the top and the bottom by 3. I'm sorry, by 2. 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 times 2 is 6. Very good. So 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6. Now we can multiply both the top and the bottom by any number. Let's practice by multiplying by 10. Now I can create an equivalent fraction of 4/10 by multiplying both the top and the bottom by 10. This should look very familiar to you. We have been doing a lot in the tenths place with decimals and with fractions, which means the denominator is 10. Now let's make this have a denominator of 100 because 10 times 10 is 100. And 4 times 10 is 40. We learned last week that 4/10 is the same as 40 hundredths. And this is why, because you're multiplying both the top and the bottom by 10. There was one other way we learned to make equivalent fractions, and that is by division. So let's go ahead and take a look at these division problems to create equivalent fractions. So I have 7/14 equals 1 over what number? Now I can't multiply 7 by a number to get to 1, but I can divide by a number to get to 1. 7 divided by what number gives us 1? Right, 7 divided by 7. So what am I going to do to the denominator to create an equal fraction? I'm going to divide by the same number. 14 divided by 7 gives me 2. Very good. That one was super easy. Let's do one that's a little harder. 8/56 equals what number over 7? So now we have to figure out what 56 divided by what number gives me 7. You can use your counting bys to give a strategy to help you with this, counting up by 7s. But I'll go ahead and write down, we can divide 56 by 8 to get 7. So what am I going to divide the top number by? Very good, by 8. So 8 divided by 8 gives me 1. So 8/56 equals 1/7. All right, let's do all the division in this next problem. 6/18, we're going to divide both the top and the bottom by 3 to get an equivalent fraction. 6 divided by 3 gives me Very good, 2. 18 divided by 3 gives me, very good, 6. So 6/18 gives us 2/6. All right, now let's do one last one. This one again should look familiar from last week. We have a denominator of 100, and we want to make an equal fraction by dividing by 10. So 90 divided by 10 gives me 9, and 100 divided by 10 gives me 10. Very good. So 90 tenths equals 91 hundredths equals 9 tenths. Good job. All right, now go ahead and take a look at your paper for this, this lesson, 12-4. So we've talked about tenths and hundredths, and we can see a model of tenths and hundredths here. It's the same square, but broken into different number of pieces. So this first one is broken into 10 pieces, so our denominator is going to be 10. This one is broken into, we know it's 10 up and 10 down, 10 across, into 100 pieces. So it's asking us to write a problem that represents the addition shown below. So we're going to add an addition sign there in the middle. Now let's figure out what our numerators are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So my first model shows me 9 tenths. Now, I don't want to have to count all these teeny tiny squares. So I'm going to count by tens because I know this is a group of 10, this one column. So let's count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Now I need to add by ones, 71. All right, so we have 9 tenths and 71 100ths. Can we add 9 tenths and 71 100ths? We can't add them in the forms they are in right now, because if you remember from our addition, we have to have equal denominators to add and subtract fractions. So how do you think we can create equal denominators so we can add these two fractions? We just went over multiplication and division to create equal fractions. What do you think would be the easiest? Very good. I think it would be easiest to multiply this fraction by 10. So I'm going to pull out a scratch sheet piece of paper because I don't have enough space on that paper. So I'm going to do 9 tenths times 10 times 10 gives me what new fraction? 9 times 10 gives me 90. 10 times 10 gives me 100. Now I have both fractions with a denominator of 100, so I can add them. 90 over 100 plus 71 over 100 equals. So let's remember how we add fractions. You guys did a really great job of this when we were still in the classroom. Our denominators stay the same, and we simply add the numerators. Now, because these are double-digit numbers, I'm going to go off to the side and add them up and down, because that's a little easier for me. 0 plus 1 is 1, and 9 plus 7 is 16. 161 100ths is our answer. You can leave it here as an improper fraction. If you want to practice turning it into a mixed number, you can go ahead and try that. All right, let's do a few more together so that you understand what this work is asking us to do. So let's move on to number 3. We have 3 tenths plus 4 100ths. Can we add those two fractions as they are? No, we can't. We have to create equal denominators. They have to have a common denominator in order to add. So what am I going to use? Multiplication or division? We are going to be using multiplication. Again, to get from 10 to 100, what number do we need to multiply by? Very good, by 10. So I'm going to take my 3/10 down here so I can figure out my equivalent fraction. I'm going to multiply both the top and the bottom by 10. Sorry, I'm going to write that a little differently. Times 10 and times 10. 10 times 10 gives me the denominator of 100, and 3 times 10 gives me the numerator of 30. Now we have common denominators, and I can add them. 30 100ths plus 4 100ths equals 34 100ths. Good job. All right, now let's try one that requires us to use division. Let's go down to here to number 6. Number 6 is the one I'm going to be working on next. 90 over 100 plus 1 over 10. Can we add those two fractions? No, we can't. They don't have the same denominator. So in that form, we can't add them. We need to have a common denominator. Now we could multiply by 10. We could multiply this fraction by 10 to get the denominator of 100. But we could also divide 90 over 100, 90 hundredths, by 10 to make equivalent fractions. So let's practice that. So I'm going to divide 90 100ths by 10. 90 divided by 10 gives me 9. 100 divided by 10 gives me 10. Now I have common denominators, so I can add these fractions. 9 tenths plus 1/10 gives me 10 tenths. And we all know that 10 tenths equals the whole number 1. Very good. All right, I hope that helped you out with this lesson. As always, if you have any problems or questions, feel free to reach out to either Miss Fallon, or Miss Donahue. Thanks for watching.